Playful Pat Goes to Mexico. By Lisa Kelly. Pat was known to be quite playful. When his big eyes sparkled and his little freckles twitched, you never knew what Pat would be up to next. One sunny morning, Pat and Shannon were bouncing with excitement. They were going to Mexico. A real adventure. Shannon grinned. But then Pat stopped. His freckles twitched nervously. In Mexico, they speak Spanish. And I only know how to say goodbye, friend. Adios, amigo. Shannon nodded. Me too, she whispered. Then she gave her stuffed bunny a big hug and said, Adios, amigo. I'll see you next week. Shannon frowned. I don't want to say goodbye to a friend I just made. What if I want a Coca-Cola? Said Pat. They both looked up at their dad, wide-eyed. Dad laughed and ruffled their hair. Don't worry. I know a little Spanish. Let's go over some words together. Okay, what's the most important word to know? Pat asked. Shannon said, thank you. Very good, said Dad. In Spanish, thank you is gracias. 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 Gracias, they both repeated, giggling. Then Pat asked, how do I say, can I please have another Coke? Dad smiled and said, Puedo tomar otra Coca-Cola, por favor. Whoa, that's long. Pat said. But worth it for a cold Coke. Mom laughed. You only get one Coke a week, remember? Dad winked. That's still the rule in Mexico. But I heard Coke tastes different there, said Pat. The Coke does taste different, said Dad. But be careful, not too much ice, and don't drink water from the tap. Why? Asked Shannon. Because the water is processed differently, Dad explained. Your tummy isn't used to it, and it can give you something called Montezuma's revenge. Pat's eyes widened. Did you say Montezuma revenge? Dad laughed. No, not Montezuma, Montezuma. What is that? Shannon asked. It's a very bad case of diarrhea, said Dad. Yo! Shannon groaned. That sounds like but volcanoes. Pat said, clutching his stomach and pretending to wobble. I'm definitely not drinking the tap water. Then Pat added, but if we do get Montezuma's revenge, how do I say where's the bathroom? Dad smiled and said, Dónde está el baño? Dónde está el baño? They practiced together, giggling between repeats. Then Shannon asked, how do I ask someone to play at the beach? Dad said, ¿Quieres jugar en la playa? Pat and Shannon repeated it over and over. When they landed in Mexico, the sun was warm, and the air felt thick and sticky with humidity, softened by a light ocean breeze. The airport or aeropuerto buzzed with people hustling every which way. Their dad flagged down a cab, and the second they hopped in, the driver took off so fast it made Pat's head spin. The cabbie spoke a mile a minute and asked in English, where to? He zoomed through several stop signs like they were merely suggestions. Pat's mom stretched her arm across the back seat like her elbow alone could stop a crash. Out the window, Pat saw vendors everywhere, selling hats, toys, snacks. And everyone seemed to glow in the tropical air. Pat and Shannon were a little shy at first. But Pat remembered his favorite word. Gracias, he said to the taxi driver when they arrived safely at the hotel. Shannon followed his lead. Everyone smiled. They quickly changed in the hotel room and ran to the beach. One afternoon, they were building a sandcastle when Pat spotted a boy digging nearby. He took a deep breath and asked, ¿Quieres jugar en la playa? But the boy smiled and said, I'm from Texas. Pat laughed. Me too, well, kind of. I'm from Colorado. The next day at the beach, Pat and Shannon made a new friend. His name was Pablo. Pat asked, What do you do for fun? Pablo grinned. We play football, soccer, eat paletas, hit piñatas at birthdays. Swim, and play, just like you. Pat tilted his head. Wait, what are paletas? Pablo laughed. They're popsicles. We have all kinds, mango, coconut, even spicy ones. Spicy popsicles? Pat's eyes got wide. That sounds awesome and terrifying. They all laughed. That night at dinner, Pat smiled. I like Mexico. The food is yummy, but very different. And the people are nice, said Shannon, even when I mess up my words. Pat sat up tall and said, Puedo tomar otra Coca-Cola, por favor? Muy bien, Pat, said Dad. Then Shannon added, Gracias. And both kids giggled through their sparkling sips.